hope you're well, and for those that don't know us, you'll be surprised to see we are actually drinking wine tonight. It isn't Ribena.
It's been one of those days.
It's been one of those lockdowns. So I hope you're well. Today's video is going to be all about organisation and how we organise and structure our time, personal time and business time. Because the interesting thing is, Cate and I are both very different in how we organise everything.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do...
We are both very organised, just in very different ways.
Yes. So what we wanted to do was to help other business people out there with our top tips for organisation. But before we get into the video, just wanted to say thank you for everyone that's watched our videos so far. I think we've had 1,600 views over the last 7 weeks. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button below. These videos will be coming out weekly, and we've got some other interesting content that will be coming out as well.
So I have started a new workout program recommended by the coach that I'm working with at the moment. I'm trying to get my workouts, I am getting my workouts done in the morning now. I used to say I was going to do them in the evening, and then the day would run away with me, as is often the case, and then I would end up making excuses to not do it. So Simon and I spent our bank holiday Monday sorting out our home gym, which is in the garage. It's a pretty cool setup. We've accumulated the equipment over a number of years, so this wasn't like a one-stop shop kind of thing. We've built all of this up for quite a while, so I'll just show you around. So we have got Simon's punch bag over here. Make no comments about why he needs a punch bag with me around. We've got a rack with various weights and bars and these rings, which I cannot use at all. Simon does, but I can't. We've got on our shelving unit over here, we've got a variety of exercise equipment. So we've got kettlebells, dumbbells, battle ropes, ab roller, more kettlebells, yoga mats, pads and gloves. There's a weighted vest in there somewhere as well, and exercise ball, foam roller, all of that. Oh, you're right there, Lucy. We've got resistance bands. I have a squat bar that I like to use. That's too light for Simon, but it helps me get my form right. The rest of this is all decorating equipment. Bench and treadmill, and then lots of mat space. So it's a good space, and now that it is actually all organised and neat, this was an absolute tip up until this last weekend. All this stuff here is stuff that needs to be sold, and then the rest is just storage, gardening equipment, decorating stuff. But yeah, up until we sorted this out over the bank holiday, I was not a fan. So we sorted this out at the weekend because I would make excuses not to come in here because it was such a mess. I don't like mess, and it was a bit of a haven for spiders and the like. So we've had a really good sort out. I actually hoovered and mopped our garage, which is not something I ever thought I'd be doing, but it's nice in here now. So we've got it all set up. I am now using, if you can see on there, I've got my phone set up. I'm using an app called Shreddy, which has loads of different workouts pre-organised take normally between 20 minutes and an hour, and it just means I don't have to think about what I'm doing. Simon's very good, as you can see on the board behind us, he is very good at planning out workouts and organising himself for that sort of stuff. I just don't have that in me to think about what workouts I'm doing. So the app's really great for being able to just literally turn my phone on. It takes you through a warm-up, a load of circuit sets, and then a cool down as well, and I don't have to think about it. I just come in here and get it done. So that's what I'm going to do now. Right, that's the workout done for today. A bit of a hot and sweaty one, to be honest with you, and I've managed to injure my thumb dropping a kettlebell on it. Not great, but at least it's done, it's out of the way, I've got my exercise in for the day, and yeah, I can go and crack on now. So one of the things that I wanted to say about organisation as a business owner is that different things work for different people. So as I said, we had a big clear out of the garage on Bank Holiday Monday so that we could get our home gym organised. Now Simon's been using this space for the past 3 years that we've lived here with no problems whatsoever with the lack of organisation in here. But for me, I am someone who likes to have things in order. I like to know that things are all in the right place. It just helps me be more efficient, and I tend to find that if I'm surrounded by clutter physically, then my mind will be cluttered as well. So it's an area where me and Simon are quite different. His organisation is all about getting things straight in his head in terms of what he has to do, which is why he uses an app. So every time something pops into his head, he just pops onto his phone, pops it into the app, and he knows where he's up to. But for me, it's a little bit more complex than that. I'm sure there's probably like deep psychological reasons behind that, but it's just the way it is. So I know that for me, having this space nice and organised, not just in terms of the gym equipment, but in terms of, you know, stuff like decorating, tools and gardening stuff, all this sort of thing, for me, it just means that I know if there's a job that needs to be done, I know exactly where to go to get the tools that I need, and it, like I say, makes me more efficient. So I think it's really good as a business person to figure out the things that make a difference for you, because it's not the same for everyone. Like I say, Simon wouldn't care less over the sort of physical aspect of organisation, but for me it really helps me mentally get in the right place to make my work effective. So figure out what works for you, what the best form of organisation is. Can you work surrounded by clutter, mess perhaps? Does it bother you? If it's something that does bother you, then make the effort. It's that sort of short-term pain for long-term gain aspect to it. You know, spending my bank holiday Monday when it was glorious weather stuck in the garage cleaning it out isn't necessarily what I would have chosen, but I know that in the long term it was time well spent and means that I'm going to spend more time working out here now, so it's all good. So think about the things that work for you.
Lovely day again today. Just here at the office. A few bits to do. Got a few new computers arriving today for some of the new stuff, so just letting the IT guys in sort that out, which is great. Didn't know if I'd be on a Zoom call today, so I've got my branded top on just in case. Then I've also got my shorts and flip-flops on to stay cool.
So one of the things that I am now incorporating into my morning routine to help me keep organised is a green smoothie, which is not something I would have ever done previously. I've always had a bit of a mental block against smoothies because I've always thought they had to include banana, and I hate bananas, but yeah, they don't. You can make smoothies without bananas, who knew? So this is what I am doing in the NutriBullet. We have a very cheap basic smoothie mix. I get this one from Aldi, and it's a mix of spinach, kale, mango and apple. I can't taste the kale or the spinach. and I just add to it some spirulina powder and super greens. I'm not the best at eating fruit and vegetables, so putting this in every day in a quick smoothie just make sure that I'm getting all the vitamins and minerals I need in.
Organisation tips. My first tip, or what I use to make sure I'm organised, so I use an app called Todoist. I've used this app for years now. I've tried all sorts of different apps. I've tried Evernote and Wunderlist and things like that, but I really struggled with some of them, and this one seems to be the simplest. Okay, everything's blown over. Maybe doing this outside wasn't the best idea.
Oh, it's been gorgeous all day and now the wind's picked up.
So I use an app called Todoist that works really well. It syncs across my phone and my iPad and my MacBook as well. So as soon as something pops into my head, I've got so much going on in my life that if I don't write it down...
I was going to say, things pop into your head a lot.
And if I don't write them down, I'll just forget them. So I do need to have something that I can just quickly either put my thoughts down on, put my task on. You can set priorities and things like that, but I think it's more important for me just to get that out of my head. And stuff will pop in my head at the most random times, and just before you go into sleep and you're just trying to drop off and something will pop in there. So it's very important to me that I get everything down and it's all in one place as well. I hate having multiple lists or anything like that. Same with emails. If an email comes in and it's something for me to do, then I'll put that straight onto the Todoist as a task. So that's my tip number one. And you're very different.
I am very different. So I like lists, but I like different lists in different places. So I used to have different notebooks for different things. So
5 notebooks.
So I'd have one notebook for personal stuff, another one for Rhino, a separate one for Raw. That actually turned out not to be the best idea because I lost one of them, which was not helpful in any way. So I do now keep it all into one notebook, but I do prefer the paper method. Oh, Charlie's joining us. I prefer paper and pen. I am very different to Simon in that I tend to remember things a bit better than him anyway, so I do still hold a lot of stuff in my head.
Because I've got more stuff going on.
Okay. One of the things that Simon is very good at doing in terms of organisation is delegation. So very often something will pop into his head and he will say it to me, and then it is out of his head, so he absolves himself of all responsibility for it, so I then have to pick up on that. So yeah, for me, I just use a very straightforward paper and pen method. I like the satisfaction of writing things out and crossing them off. I am one of those people who will write things on my list that I've already done just so that I can cross them off. But I think that's probably my top tip, is to find a method of organisation that works for you. I have followed so many coaches and mentors and influencers over the years. I've tried the is it Pomodoro method, and it just doesn't work for me. It's not the way I work. The Pomodoro method, if you're not aware, is a method of working in short, sharp blasts of, I think it's recommended about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, then taking a 5-minute break and then going back into it. That doesn't work for me because I like to, with the type of work I do, I tend to like to get into something and be able to stick at it. Once I'm into something, I don't want to leave it. I can't take breaks from it. I like to just see it out. So yeah, find a way that works for you, and make sure that it fits your life and business style, because otherwise if you try and force something that doesn't feel right, you won't stick to it, and then that defeats the whole point.
My next tip is to make sure your emails are organised. So again, this is where we're very different. I have inbox 0 as much as I can, which is 99% of the time. And again, I've been, like Kate was just saying then, I've been through different ways of trying to organise this. There's, the get things done method, and where you create different folders within Outlook, and then you set up rules and things to fire off your emails straight into those folders as soon as they come in. That didn't work for me. So what I do is everything comes into my inbox and I deal with it. So it either goes on my Todoist app as an action, or if it's just something that needs to be archived, it goes straight into an archive folder. If it doesn't need to be kept, I'll read it and then delete it. If it needs to be forwarded on to someone, I'll forward it on to them and then delete it. So that's how I keep my emails to 0 pretty much all the time, and that means it doesn't stress me out, whereas other people have like 3,000 unread emails in their inbox, and that would stress me out.
Unread emails. I keep all of my emails in my inbox. I do have different folders set up. It is, the emails thing is a classic example of how different we are. For me, I am currently I worked this out yesterday actually, I have 7 different email accounts that I am responsible for checking over. So for me, even the concept of being at 0 inbox is just never going to happen for me. So I do exactly what Simon doesn't do, which is I have lots of different subfolders, I have rules created, I do have some unread emails, but they are the emails that go into a folder called To Read.
But you've never ever read it.
They are the sort of standard industry type newsletters and things that I might go through maybe once a month to see if there's anything of interest for our newsletter. But that's what works for me. I have attempted to do the zero inbox email thing, and it was actually the opposite for me. That stressed me out more, because I felt so much pressure to have an empty inbox. So again, it's about doing what works for you.
Yeah, you did achieve 0 inbox once when you just deleted everything.
Yeah, it lasted about 5 minutes as well. So another tip that I have for organisation is something that's actually quite new to me. I've just recently started working with a new coach, and when I was talking to her about my goals and my frustrations, the areas where I was struggling and things I needed to work on, she identified the fact that my lack of a routine may have been quite a significant factor in those frustrations. Now, it's really important to recognise that for Simon and I, the way our life works and the way our businesses work, I actually kind of have to have less of a routine than Simon, because he has to be available to go out to clients or on site at very short notice. So I have to be much more flexible. However, that being said, my new coach quite rightly identified that I was using that as a bit of an excuse, a bit of a get out of jail free clause. And so I am currently working on setting up a new morning routine. Now, for anyone who's immediately rolling their eyes and going, oh God, here we go, miracle morning or whatever, no, that is not what I'm trying to do. I've tried that in the past. Again, that was probably about 4 years ago. I tried the miracle morning method, absolutely hated it, lasted about a week, and again, just doesn't work for me. I am not a 5 o'clock in the morning person. It doesn't do me any favours whatsoever. However, what I am doing is setting up a routine where I am getting up at consistent times, and doing the same things, creating habits essentially. That's what it comes down to. And I think it's a really good sort of a tip just for general organisation. Creating habits is a really effective way of getting yourself organised and staying that way, because that's the thing with organisation. It's no good getting really super organised in one day and then a week later finding out you're back to square one. You have to have something that's maintainable and sustainable. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. You've always been pretty good with a morning routine, haven't you?
I crave structure, so I really struggle. So for example, when we go on holiday, and it's a case of, right, I've got nothing to do today, I really struggle just being able to not do anything. So I like to have structure. I like to know what I'm doing.
It's really easy to live with.
Thank you. So I like to have structure. I like to know what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, so I know that I feel accomplished at the end of the day and I've actually got stuff done, and it's all leading towards my end goal or goals, whether they be business goals or personal goals or family goals. So that's what I like to do, and that's how I like to structure my day. So I do try and block out, obviously I've got the blocks of time when I go and see clients. I'll also try and block out time for training, block out time for reading. Like Kate said before, it can be quite reactive in our industry, so I do try and block some time out to be reactive, whether that's reactive to emails or on the phone to clients that just randomly call in as well. So that's how I like to do it. And I think, the point that Kate made where everyone's different, I think you need to just try a few different things and then go with what works with you. Don't try and force it, and you will find stuff that works and you will find the stuff that doesn't.
Yeah, I think the caveat to that is nothing should ever feel forced long term. However, you need to recognise that you're going to have to get uncomfortable in the short term to create that habit. So for me, the morning routine right now, it feels uncomfortable. I'm still not completely there with the consistency of it, but I know that pushing through this feeling of discomfort in these early days is going to end up with really positive results at the end of it. So yeah, do what works for you. Don't have anything that feels forced, but don't kind of sit back in your comfort zone and just not push yourself to try those new things out and give them a good shot.
Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you know anyone that would benefit from our videos that we're doing, please share this video with them. Please subscribe below if you haven't already. Really appreciate everyone that watches our videos.
And if you've got any top tips for organisation, please do leave them in the comments below as well. Hope you found that useful. Please do. Oh no, I can't do it. What's going on?
I'm so going to do that as a blooper.
No, don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.